You're listening to The Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with Lyndia Grant.
Well, good evening, Radio 1 listeners. Thank you for tuning in to The Lyndia Grant Show. This is our first live show for the year 2025, and we are happy to be back. I'm going to have on today Dr. Julianne Malvo. I'll talk to her in just a moment. And for our second half, we will be talking to attorney Shelore Williams. She's going to be talking about wills and probate. So you need to tune in because you'll be getting a lot of good free advice. People need to know what it is they need to do with their stuff. But I'm going to talk to Dr. Julianne Malvo. It's so much been happening since she and I last talked. She could take the whole show. But Dr. Julianne Malvo, speaker extraordinaire, globe traveler, we're so glad to be back here with you today. Talk to us. I know you got a lot. Happy New Year. I know you got a lot, but just do what you want to do for about 12 minutes.
All righty. Like I said, Happy New Year. My mama used to always say it's new until it's old.
Yes.
I guess when you stop putting, I had to write a check the other day. I put 2024 on it, and the lady said, no, it's 2025. So when you stop doing that, I guess the new year has become an old year.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let me begin. You're right, we got a lot. A lot is going on. Number one, we, of course, have the incoming president coming on Monday, January 20th, and he's promised to do a lot of things, none of them good.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, Jack Smith, who was the assistant attorney general who did the investigation, he's resigned, and he indicated in his report, a 130-page report, that there was a coordinated attempt to maintain power. Repeat that, a coordinated attempt to maintain power. So what does that mean? It means that, frankly, the incoming president is guilty of subversion. Mm-hmm. But he is the incoming president. He did win. We're not like the MAGA people. We'll give him that. But we're not going to give him a pass on some of the things that he did wrong. So that's number one. Number two, speaking of the Department of Justice, Kristen Clark, who has been also an Assistant Attorney General of Civil Rights, released a report about Tulsa, Oklahoma. As you know, Tulsa was the place where Black Wall Street occurred. Well, angry, envious, ignorant white people burned down Greenwood, the black area of Tulsa, because black people had too much. That's all. That's why they did it, because black people had too much. Now, the lie was that Dick Rowland, a young man, he was 19 years old, theoretically raped a young white girl, Sarah Page. But Sarah Page never pressed charges. Sarah Page said it didn't happen. But meanwhile, white men said they were going to lynch Dick Rowland, and Dick Rowland, black men who were veterans of World War I, said, oh, hell no. And so, what the record shows is that the sheriff reached out to black men and said, can you help me? And so they went and they basically prevented a lynching. The newspaper article said to lynch a Negro tonight. The newspaper and the media, Lyndia, was used as a tool of the before MAGA people. Mm-hmm. And in any case, it didn't happen. We know it didn't happen, but what we do know is that there was an investigation under the Emmett Till Unsolved Crimes Act. And Kristen Clark and her team investigated, and they found that there's nobody alive that they can prosecute, but they have such a record straight. So that's a very good thing. You know, the lynching, the disregard of black people, you know, millions of dollars of property that was lost, and Black Tulsa has not yet recovered from that. So they say it was a coordinated effort to run black people out of Tulsa. Now, let's move on. The Department of Justice is the Department of Justice. Let's move on to Los Angeles, where, of course, billions of dollars of property has been lost. We keep hearing about all the celebrities who lost their stuff. but in the Palisades. But what about Altadena? Altadena is an area that's largely black, in South Pasadena, largely black, and those folks lost their stuff too. People aren't so concerned about that. We haven't seen very many of them in the media on the air talking about what they lost. What we know is that Altadena and South Pasadena are heavily black areas. I have several friends who've lost their homes. As a dean at Cal State LA, I have at least 2 faculty members who lost their homes. So that's that. But in any case, we have to, now the Trumpies have attempted to politicize this and to say that Mayor Karen Bass is at fault. They blamed a lot of people. They blamed DEI, which to me stands for definitely earned it. Too many black people in the fire department. They've also talked about Karen being in Africa. No. Mayor Karen Bass was in Ghana for the installation of the new president. She, by the way, is a personal friend, and we often get confused with each other, which cracks me up because I get in trouble for stuff she did, and she gets in trouble for stuff I did. But neither here nor there. They're like, she's in Africa. How come these white anchor people can't get Africa straight? There are 52, 53 sub-Saharan African countries. She is not in Africa. She was in Ghana at the request of President President Biden. So forgive me, if you can't say Ghana and you can't figure out that all those countries, when Biden goes to see the Pope, they don't say he went to Europe, they say he went to Italy. So it just kind of ticks me off, if you will, and we're not going to go there. But in any case, you can tell the racism in the coverage. The racism in the coverage is there. They want to blame her. She had an able deputy taking care of things. They want to blame DEI. But here's what people aren't talking about: the looting that's taking place in the Palisades, the looting that's taking place. And the looting is not black people, it's white people. The arson that's taking place. People are lighting fires so they can go into people's houses. Again, that's white people. But the racism in the coverage is really quite disgusting. That's all I can say. Now, today, Tuesday, we're recording on Tuesday, Pete Hegseth had his first confirmation hearing. He may have another one. He is the nominee of the incoming president for Secretary of Defense. The Democrats grilled him harsh, and they should have. Tammy Duckworth, a veteran, Tim Kaine, Virginia senator, they pushed him hard about sexual harassment claims, and he kept saying, oh, this is a coordinated smear. But the fact is that he had an affair while he was married to someone else, and the woman had a child. That's not a coordinated smear. That's a baby happened. So he is likely to get through. The Republicans hold the majority, 53 to 47. So he's likely to get through, but not necessarily. There are some Republicans who are not loving him. Let's just put it that way. But we'll see what happens. And I'm watching all of these hearings, of course, because they are important. Then let me say that the inauguration is coming. I don't know what people think about Carrie Underwood performing. I'm not loving it, but she was never on my top list anyway. Michelle ain't coming. Michelle Obama says she ain't coming. She hasn't given no reason. She just says she ain't coming. Frankly, given the way that the Trumpies treated her when they came in, I don't blame her. She shouldn't come. President Obama, he's the former president, he will honor tradition, but he ain't studying them either, if the whole truth is to be told. Meanwhile, there is rancor in the Republican ranks. Steve Bannon has went off on Elon Musk a couple times, said he don't have no power. Well, apparently he does. $1 million buys you a lot of stuff. But what we have is called let's just fasten our seatbelts and watch and see what happens. I don't think that the incoming president is going to get everything he wants, but he's going to get some of it. And we all are going to be the worse for it. Last thing I'll say, Lyndia, Rudolph Giuliani, special advisor to the incoming president, has now been fined found contempt of court. He basically attempted to destroy the lives of 2 black women, and that's not going down his way. They may well get his condo in Florida, and they should get everything else. That's it for me today.
All right, then. That's good. Thank you. Thank you for so much for catching us all up, and we'll talk back to you next week.
Sounds like a winner. Take good care.
All right, you too. Bye. Now we'll go to our commercial break, and we'll be back in a moment.
If it wasn't for my care coach at AmeriHealth, I probably wouldn't be so healthy right now. As a man, you know we don't get checkups or see a doctor regularly anyways. It's probably just a man thing because none of my partners go either. We know we should, but we just don't, and hope it works out.
So what changed for you?
AmeriHealth assigned me a care coach, somebody that gives one-on-one help, answer questions, explain things, and help set my appointments. She also helped me understand what having high blood pressure really means and ways to manage it so it doesn't kill me. It ain't nothing to play with. If you're a member of AmeriHealth, ask for a care coach. I'm glad I got mine.
At AmeriHealth, if you need a care coach, you can have one. Just call us at 1-877-759-6224 to get connected. 1-877-759-6224. This program is funded in part by the government of the District of Columbia Department of Healthcare Finance. Mayor Muriel Bowser.
Washington and former religion columnist Lyndia Grant.
Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery bus. In lectures on brotherhood, Ms. Parks often said, "People always say that I didn't give up my seat because I was tired. But that wasn't true. I was not tired physically. I was not old. I was 42. No, the only tired I was tired of giving in." Driven out of Montgomery by harassment and death threats, Detroit, Michigan became her new home. Rosa Parks will always be remembered as the mother of the civil rights movement. Raised in the AME church, she once said, "I remember finding such comfort and peace while reading the Bible."
Read more in the religion column of the Washington Informer, an award-winning African-American newspaper. We don't report crime or gossip, just positive news. Pick up the Washington Informer or visit us online at washingtoninformer.com. Call 202-561-4100 for more information.
This is Frank Smith with the African American Civil War Museum in Washington, D.C., located at 1925 Vermont Avenue Northwest on the Green Line. Did you know that a recent study found that children who visit museums do better in school and in life than children who do not? So parents, teachers, and preachers, let's get moving. I promise you, if you bring your children to the African American Civil War Museum, they will be inspired by the images that they see. They will be impressed by our living history reenactors who are always available, and they will be involved in our scavenger hunt that takes them throughout our exhibit. That's the African American Civil War Museum, 1925 Vermont Avenue. Our hours are 10 to 6:30 on weekdays, 12 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. See it, be inspired.
And we are back. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. We are here the third week in the year, but it's our first show for 2025. And now here's my second guest for today, Attorney Shelore Williams. Shelore Williams has been working in the legal field for many years now, and I have known Shelore from being on the city council when we worked together under Councilman Frank Smith, and she was a principal, and she's also right now the executive director or maybe another president of Columbia Heights Development Corporation. She's a woman all over the city doing all kinds of things. And I can assure you she is an outstanding attorney because she helped save my son from losing his son. So, Shelore, welcome to the show today. Happy New Year to you. I want to make sure that people know that she is an attorney that practiced at, she got her degree at Georgetown University, and she studied probate law. So, Shelore, today we're going to talk about living trust, and is a living trust revocable? Can it become a revocable trust? Talk to us today.
Well, first, let me thank you for allowing me to be on your show. That's one. And let me wish you and your listeners a happy new year. And I'm glad you're bringing up this subject because, you know, every now and then you see these commercials telling people that they need to do a living trust. And a living trust is not for everybody, but it works for some. Now, your question is, can a living trust be revocable? Well, revocable means, can you change the document? Can you write a living trust and then change your mind and change it? In the District of Columbia, yes, because they always now have what they call a revocable trust. Before they did not have a revocable trust. It was called an irrevocable trust. In Maryland, you can have either one, a revocable trust or an irrevocable trust. But what is a revocable living trust? This is a document that you put together to create a way to manage your assets during your lifetime. And it includes another document called a will, a last will and testament. It also, which is a document to do whatever you want to do with your assets at death. It will also include power of attorneys, financial power of attorney or durable power of attorney, or healthcare power of attorney. So it's a document that you use to place all of your assets in a statement, like you incorporate your assets so that you can try to protect them in some way. Now, a living trust or revocable trust, if you put everything you have, like your car, your house, your jewelry, into a revocable trust, that's protected. You don't have to do what they call probate. That means you don't have to go through the court to follow the instructions of what to do with these assets. However, if you establish a revocable trust and you put your car, your jewelry, and your house in it, in this document, you identify them in your document, and you buy another house that you did not place in your revocable trust document, that property will have to go through probate. So it's a little tricky here and there. I also want to let your listeners know that sometimes people say, well, I want to do a revocable trust so I don't have to go through probate. Mm-hmm. Well, probate may take time to tell the courts, to tell your creditors, to tell everybody what you want to have done with your assets. It may take time to go through the court. Like in Maryland, sometimes it takes 6 months. Sometimes it takes longer. And you say, well, I don't want to pay for that. Well, you're not paying. If you have assets where you have a plus in your assets, you have money, that estate pays for that process. But if you have an estate and you don't have any money, meaning you owe more out than you have in, then your estate cannot pay. So in one sense, when you do a revocable trust, understand that it's going to cost you up front. It's going to come out of your pocket. In my experience, I've known that a revocable trust or those trusts may cost up to $3,000 or more. But let me tell your listeners this. If you want to write or make or establish a revocable trust, put all your assets into or identify all your assets into a document, then make sure you choose an attorney that specializes in preparing revocable trusts or living trusts. Now, with the understanding that it's not easy to prepare a living trust because you have to identify all your assets, and in that revocable trust, you have to identify what they call who's going to manage it, who's going to be the trustee of your revocable trust. You may be the trustee first, but then you have to identify another trustee in case you become incapacitated. And who is going to be your beneficiary? Well, you got to name that as well. That's why it includes information as if you were writing the last will and testament. Am I going too fast for you, Lyndia?
I'm getting it. Go ahead. I'm taking notes.
All right, and sometimes you say that if you write a revocable trust, then you will avoid inheritance fees or creditors or things like that. That's not true. It doesn't. You don't avoid your debts. You don't avoid inheritance fee. What controls this is the state. But what you may avoid is the cost of the court to probate the estate. Now, I think that you should also know that what I call a revocable trust document, it includes certain other documents that are very important to you. It includes a document that's called a power of attorney. Mm-hmm. A financial or durable power of attorney helps you decide on who you want to manage your finances. It also includes a document called Advanced Healthcare Directive. That is, you identify who's going to talk to your doctors when you're not able to talk to your doctors. So it includes the same 3 or 4 documents that you would do individually. Now, I tell my clients to allow me to write their will, their power of attorneys, or declarations, because you'll come out a little better and cheaper. I hate to say cheaper, but it's less expensive. Plus, if you want to change your will, like change your beneficiary, change your power, change your personal representative, you can do that at little to no cost. But when you want to change your living trust or revocable trust, it's going to cost you almost a lot of money, half of what you already spent. And if you spent $3,000 for it, you're going to pay $1,500. And why? Because to prepare or change or modify or restate a living trust takes a lot of detail. You have to get the right page, the right paragraph, the right line. You have to identify all these things. You have to delete the words you don't want and insert the words that you do. Very tedious. So now, I think that, and I don't want to talk as though you should not do a revocable trust. I'm just saying that a revocable trust is not for everybody. It doesn't save you. You're not saving any money on estate or inheritance taxes. You are you're incorporating your assets in a sense. You know, Lyndia, like you establish your business, mm-hmm. and you put your business LLC or Inc. Well, that's basically what you're doing with your assets. You are putting your assets in all together and giving it a name. You're renaming your mm-hmm. assets. Now, a revocable trust does save time and sometimes save money. And what I mean by time is that if you write a revocable trust document and you die or something, you just have to file that document in the court. You don't have to wait for the court to tell you that you are accepted and you can do what you want to do in that document. The court only looks at that document, the revocable trust, to see if it is written properly, not to tell you when to get started or when not to get started. But you do have to file it.
Mm-hmm. Can people? Well, I guess they can do it properly without an attorney, or they usually need an attorney. What is your experience with that?
Lyndia, I would never suggest that someone try to do a revocable trust without an attorney. Mm-hmm. Even if you find the models online, I'm sure there are models online, but let me put it this way. In the United States, there are 3,000 counties in the United States. So there's 50 states, over 3,000 counties, and each county has its own jurisdiction. There's local government, state government, and there's the federal government. But we're talking about state. So take Maryland, Virginia, and the District of Columbia. the District of Columbia and Maryland will identify an executor by saying personal representative. And when you write a will, you do not need it to be notarized. In Virginia, you have to have your will notarized, and you may need 3 witnesses. No, you need 3 witnesses, whereas in Maryland, for D.C., you only need 2 witnesses. So there are little eons like that. So I would not suggest that anybody go online and pull down a little document and try to do a will, or especially not a trust. I think you have to bite the bullet and get to the legal person who specializes in writing trusts.
Mm-hmm. And I have heard, just to lock this down, that Prince George's County, Maryland, is one of the richest African American counties in America. So I need to send this all out so that people can know to have all these estates and things. Hopefully they have things in place. If they don't, they need to call Shelore Williams and tell them they heard it on the Lyndia Grant Show.
Yes,
tell them what they'll get for that.
All right. Now, look, let me tell you, if they say they heard it on the Lyndia Grant Show, they get a good discount. They probably will get a 50% discount in 2025. That's the highest I've gone.
Oh,
and
yeah, that is high.
I'll tell you what else I'll do, Lyndia. Sometimes, you have married couples. They want a will. You have to have a will for each person. They want a power of attorney. You have to have a power of attorney for each. I give them a real good discount. It's not fair to make them pay for as if they were single. Mm-hmm. So I give a real good discount on that. Mm-hmm. And I try to give a real good discount when they just mention your name, because you've been good to me. You've been good.
All right.
Come on.
Well, Shelore, tell them how they can reach you, because we're out of time now. Tell them, how they can contact you.
Well, I would like for them to call me on 301-341-5577. That's my office telephone number. You can also reach me by email, sacw@verizon.net. And I'll be more than happy to discuss this with you. And I do workshops or seminars.
And SHCW is S as in Sam, A as in Apple, C as in Carrie,
and W as in
her initials, Shelore and Carrie Williams.
That's right.
All right. Thank you for being my guest today, Shelore Williams. You've told us a lot, and we're going to share this show. It's going to be on live Friday, but we're going to share it all over the place. Thank you for being my guest.
And please invite me back for more discussion.
I sure will. All right. Well, I'm going to close now. Words, thoughts, and deeds have a boomerang effect. So be careful what you send out. Scripture says, my people perish for the lack of knowledge. Thank you for tuning in to the Lyndia Grant Show. We hope this show with Dr. Julianne Malvo and Attorney Shelore Williams have been helpful to you. Tune in again next week to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things. Good day.
Thank you for listening to the Lyndia Grant Show. Think on these things with your host, Lyndia Grant.